Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Colin Kelly alongside Emma Baker. We are here at Comsteria HQ. We are a training and communications consultancy. Find out all about us at comsteria.co.uk. Good afternoon, Emma.
Good afternoon, Colin. It's lovely to be here.
Aye, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the iPhone 13. I think everyone's talking about that. It was just announced. So we're going to be looking through, kind of trying to make sense of some of the specs for you in terms of the camera and how you would use that for video, if it's going to make your life better if you're making videos on your phone in-house.
Yeah, if you're one of our clients, you're interested in smartphone video, maybe been on some of Emma's training in the past. What does it all mean? Do you need these features? How does it compare maybe with the smartphone that you have just now? We're going to go through all that in the next 30 minutes or so. And if you've got any questions, just pop them into the live chat. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn or Amazon Twitch, we'll pick up your comments and answer any of your questions. The new iPhone 13 has just gone on pre-sale through the Apple website, and the main mobile phone networks, O2, EE and Vodafone, all taking pre-orders now for the new iPhone 13, and it goes on general sale 1 week today. Emma, before we get into too much of the technical detail and the benefits of these new iPhone 13 camera features, from a personal point of view, if your phone was out of contract right now, you've an iPhone 12, if that was up, you think you've got another year of it, but if it was up, you see this iPhone 13, would you be one of the thousands clicking on right now trying to pre-order it? Is it that good?
If my contract was up, yes, I probably would. There's areas where there isn't really much of a difference, and that's why my contract's not up, so I wouldn't be jumping on it, and I kind of don't want to upgrade phones every single year and kind of contribute to that kind of craziness. But if my contract was up, I would definitely be interested in it. There's a few features that I'll talk about later that would get me really excited about making video on this camera.
Great. And what about then from the business point of view? If you're one of our clients, say you're a transport company or a gas distribution network or maybe one of the universities, if you're in the comms team at one of these organisations right now, you may be on iPhone 10 or something at the moment. Should they be going to their boss and saying, look, can we get 2 or 3 of these devices? It's going to help us do our comms easier?
Yeah, well, it depends what you're sitting on already. Certainly, the iPhone 10 is still a cracking phone, but there are significant improvements in the camera between the iPhone 10 and the iPhone 13. And I think it depends on how you're using it, how often you're making video. There's things like the battery life is much better in this. So if you are a comms team and you're going to be out and about all day and you want to be shooting video and know that it's reliable, then the storage and the battery life on the iPhone 13 is much better than the old phone. So these are things, hopefully if you watch more today, there are elements that if you compare it to your current phone, you could make a really strong case to your boss that this is what you need if you really are genuine about making video in-house. These cameras are incredible.
Right, and is there a particular sort of standout feature? I think Apple are saying that that they're saying they've completely redesigned the system behind these phones. That there are some things that they've never had before. What are the kind of maybe a couple of standouts for you?
In terms of the camera, one of the big improvements, this is really only on the Pro and the Max cameras. It's the sensor size, or the bits in the sensor are bigger. I'll get into the technical stuff about it later, but basically in a nutshell what it means is it performs much better in lower light. So if you're inside in the office and your footage always looks a bit dark and grainy and you don't get good colour, then this is the biggest sensor and the kind of best quality sensor Apple have ever had on their phones. Yeah. So that's a good feature.
I think Apple actually says they're talking about the Pro. iPhone 13 Pro is made for low light. That's what they say. Is it the case, Emma, that to get the best results, do you need the Pro or the Max?
I don't think you need the Pro or the Max, but in terms of the camera, there are significant differences and improvements in the Pro and the Max as compared to the just the basic, the mini or the iPhone 13. And that's the same going back to the iPhone 12 as well. I've got the iPhone 12 just normal, and there's things about the Pro and the Max. It's the lens, it's that third lens makes a difference in terms of the variety that you can put into the way you shoot video, because you've got a telephoto lens, a wide lens and an ultra wide lens. There's other stuff going on as well, but that's the thing that I miss actually. I miss my telephoto lens that I had on my iPhone 10. I don't have that anymore. And
wow, so they had it on the 10, but it's not on the 12?
No, they had it on the 10 as a basic. So the iPhone 10 has got the two lenses, a wide and then the telephoto. And then I think if you had the Pro, I'm not quite sure what the iPhone 10 Pro had, but I think it had a third lens. But they switched it a bit on the iPhone 12, maybe the iPhone 11 as well. So I've got a wide and an ultra wide lens, but to get the third lens, that telephoto lens, you need the Pro or the Max.
Right.
And I'd rather have a telephoto and a wide lens rather than that ultra wide lens.
And why is that then? What would that allow you to do?
The telephoto lens for photography and for video, I love that the telephoto lens just obviously lets you get closer to the action without having to move yourself closer physically. And it's an optical zoom lens. And that means for video, you can introduce a more variety of shots. So if I've set up for an interview and I think, there's too much dead space around here, I can just flip to the telephoto lens and crop in tightly on that person. It's nice for photography as well in portrait mode. The telephoto lens gives you a true representation of someone's face. A wide lens tends to distort.
Yeah.
The wider it goes, like a big fisheye lens or those action kind of cameras, your face starts to look more distorted. So if you've got a nice telephoto lens for taking portraits or close-ups of people, it looks more natural, it looks nicer.
So to get that telephoto lens, which model of iPhone 13 would we need to go for?
The Pro and the Max. Right. And the great advantage even if you've got the iPhone 12 Pro and Max, this telephoto lens is now 3 times optical zoom. Instead of 2.5 times optical zoom, and I believe the Max, iPhone 13 Max, is 5 times optical zoom. So your focal length, is taking you 5 times closer than just the standard wide lens.
Of course, it's not just about the camera. There are other improvements as well. The screen refresh rate improves. The battery life is better. But if we get in now to the iPhone 13, I think it's 12 megapixel cameras, different size of sensor. The size of the MP has increased. What does that mean?
So that's the sense, when you look at the specs and you people say, 12 megapixels or 10 megapixels, sometimes you think that's the most important thing, and you'll think, well, there's no difference. The 12 and the 13 are the same. But that's how many pixels are crammed onto the sensor. And the sensor is where all the light is captured. So now this sensor is bigger, but it's also that all the individual pixels are larger. That's what that figure means. If you tell me what that figure is again, I've lost it on my sheet.
Well, it's gone from 1.4 UM to 1.7 UM.
So the 1.4, that's to do with the quality and the size of those. They're like little satellite dishes almost that catch the light at the back of the sensor of your camera. So now it's still the same number, 12 megapixels, but they're bigger and they're better quality. Wow. Therefore, the quality of your image, the colour that your camera will pick up in low light will be better. The resolution of that image in low light will be better, and there'll be less noise, which means when you take a photo or a video in a dark room and it's all kind of grainy, that's the noise. You'll get a smoother image.
And I mean, to what extent would you notice a difference with that? If you've got a good phone already, how big a leap is it? I'm guessing from the 12, it's not that great a leap, but of course some people might still. I mean, we know clients that are still on an iPhone 6.
Yeah, well, what I would look at in comparing this iPhone 13 to your current phone is look at the number of the F number. So you can find it in the iPhone specs or the Samsung specs, whatever phone you've got. It'll be F/1.6. That's the Aperture. Or the f-stop number. And it's a bit confusing because actually the lower that number, the better. Wow, so, right. For example, in the iPhone 12, the F number was 1.6, F/1.6. In the iPhone 13 Pro, it's F/1.5. So that's not a big difference there. Where there's a big difference between the 12 and the 13 is in the ultra-wide lens. It's going to do much better. It was 2.4 in the 12 and now it's 1.8. So that's going to perform much better in low light situations than your iPhone 12. But whatever phone you've got, go and look at that f number, that aperture number. And if you're up at 2.5 or 3.2 or something, it's going to be a significant difference when you're in a low light situation. If your f number's 1 point something, then you're probably doing pretty well.
We're just on the Apple website now, not buying it or pre-ordering it, but just having a look at how it looks and what Apple is saying about it. They're saying macro photography comes to iPhone. Our redesigned lens, powerful autofocus system. It says the new ultra-wide camera can focus at just 2 centimeters. So sometimes I've encountered, if I'm maybe using the phone to scan something, like I'm taking a picture of a document and I go in really close and I see it can't focus.
Yeah.
So what they're saying here is you can go right in close to like a blade of grass and it'll still look okay.
Exactly. That's macro photography. So if you were working with a DSLR camera like behind me, you'd need to buy a specialist lens if you wanted to photograph flowers or insects or any of these things, raindrops, these kind of really beautiful images. And that kind of photography is starting to open up now with your iPhone. And it's, as you said, it's the wide lens that lets you do that. So you could take your phone within 2 centimeters of the object and it will still manage to focus sharply on that.
Now, we've talked a little bit about the night vision and low light, etc. So when you're shooting in low light, do you need to do anything differently? Or does all this kit, all this software, all this stuff that's going on in the background, does that happen automatically? Or is it like a feature that I have to turn on and start using?
It just all happens automatically. There's no particular feature. No, it's certainly not in the iPhone 13 because a lot of it's to do with the hardware. It's just better. So it's not to do with a software change. The sensor's bigger and each of the pixels is better quality, so it's just capturing more light.
So it just what it sees is better than what was there previously.
But a feature of the software that is better, it's only been slightly upgraded in the iPhone 13, but it certainly was a change between the iPhone 10 and the iPhone 12. Maybe the 11 was Smart HDR. So again, that's a feature to look out for on your phone. HDR is high dynamic range. It really made a difference first in photography, but they've put it into their video software now as well. And that means it's just all the software works in the background to give you the best exposure in the shadows, the full range, the shadows all the way to the highlights. So if you're taking a photo or video outdoors and there's dark rocks at one side of your photo, but bright light and clouds and sun on the other side, it'll give you the full dynamic range, and that's integrated now into the video system.
Wow!
In iPhones,
I'm so far behind with this. I mean, here's my Google Pixel 5 phone, and I mean, if I was taking a picture in low light, I would still be looking for the flash. So is that all gone now? Do you not even need to think about that?
You can still use a flash, but in general, I would say don't. And yes, I mean, flash and lighting can make a big difference, but an on-camera flash tends to be kind of harsh, kind of straight down somebody's face and casts horrible shadows. So if you do want to add artificial light into your photos or your video, then buy external lights that you can set at different angles.
So maybe if somebody doing product photography, would that be the best advice for them?
Yeah, don't use the flash. Use separate lights that sit in a stand and you can angle them properly. But some phones, they do have this night mode, not really for video, it's more for photography. And I think what night mode does on most phones, yes, it lets you take good photos in low light, but it kind of changes the shutter speed. It changes how long the camera shutter stays open and lets more light flood into the camera. So there's lots of different ways to manipulate your camera settings to make them work better in low light. But by and large, these cameras are doing it all for you just in the background.
So I think the really important thing is, just because something new has come out, it doesn't mean that you automatically need to go and get it. It's really about thinking, well, what do you need? What are your objectives? What have you got just now? And is this, is it time to make an upgrade that maybe can be fit for purpose now for 4 or 5 or 6 years? I think especially if you're buying this, not just for your personal life, but actually for an organisation to have sitting within the comms team. There's other things it goes on to talk about, Emma, and it makes quite a play about this thing they're calling cinematic mode, I think. Yeah. And they talk about shallow depth of field and automatically transition. The only smartphone that lets you edit the depth effect after you shoot. It sounds great, but what does it mean?
Brilliant. Well, that should have been my answer to your first question. Which feature would you upgrade for? The telephoto lens, but specifically, you could get that on an earlier model, an iPhone 12 or an iPhone 10, but you can't get this on any other model, this depth of field that you're talking about.
I think we can actually have a quick look at how it works. If we
then.
go in here, I think it might start to play. Yeah, we're actually looking at an example now. So what we're seeing is two astronauts. One is looking at the camera, it's focused on her. She looks away to her colleague, and the focus shifts. Her colleague comes into focus, she goes out of focus, and then when she looks back, she comes back into focus. What on earth is going on there?
So first of all, before we get to the automatic changing, this is the first time, certainly an iPhone, where you can apply this depth of field really consistently on video. So if you've got portrait mode on your existing iPhone or Android phone, you can use it in photography, where you take the picture of someone and the background just blurs out, the bokeh effect, and it really makes the subject stand out. And if you've had a production team come in and make a video for you in your company, and they've been using an SLR camera or another video camera, they'll have done the same thing. You'll see that when somebody's being interviewed, the background kind of cinematically fades away, and you can't do that on iPhones. You certainly couldn't, and now you can, basically.
Wow.
Within video.
You do that live then while you're shooting.
You do
the
that
thing.
live while shooting, and what they're saying is it allows you to do this rack focus or rack pull, which is a cinematic technique. Like in that astronaut shot where the director focuses on one character as they're thinking or talking, and then they want to direct the audience's attention to someone else, so you pull focus and it focuses onto them, and this software does that for you automatically.
And I would imagine then that the effect of that for our clients and for people watching this is that without the audience really understanding what's going on, the video's just they will notice that it looks and it feels different, better, more professional. They won't know exactly what's going on, but it will leave them with a feeling that they associate with big, glossy, professional, cinematic type
Exactly.
productions.
And if you know what you're doing, if you know how to apply it as well, and that's one easy difference to make. If you're making an in-house video and you've got that cinematic mode, you interview somebody and you set the interview up, you still have to set up with a nice background and a bit of depth in the background. It's not all about the software and the phone, but and nice lighting and so on. But you can make your video shot on your phone look as if you've hired in an outside company, and that does do things psychologically to the audience. It lets you direct their attention where you want it to be, and it, as you say, it creates a certain atmosphere and a certain feeling about your video.
And it positions your brand a certain way as well. You know, some of the businesses that we work with, these are big brands, they deal with lots of money, they've got lots of staff. So the video you produce should reflect that. And I think as well, if you're the comms person and you're trying to get, saying to the CEO or the MD or whoever, look, we'd like to interview you, you should do a weekly vlog. How nice would it be when you make that vlog and you show that to the more senior person or whoever it is, when they turn around and say, wow, you've made me look amazing.
Yeah. It's not just that kind of depth of field. The other feature that you've got only on the kind of high end iPhone 13s is the ability to shoot in the ProRes file format, the codec, which is broadcast quality TV basically and film. And so if you combine all those elements, you don't need them, but as you say, the impact that can have if you're wanting to really push on with this in-house video production.
Well, I think as well, I know people that work in this space, and they started making like mini documentaries about their business, and it's not that much of a jump from that to think, well, maybe we could sell that, we could put this on Vimeo or start, what if one day Netflix wanted to do something about our brand? They're going to use a professional grade codec, something like Apple ProRes, and it's fit for purpose. If you're trying to work with the media, using clips on news bulletins, BBC and STV, again, if you've got professional level codec, when it's on broadcast television, it's going to look much, much better. And it's starting to get away from that homemade sort of typical YouTube look that we want to get away from. So that's exciting. Now, Emma, just before we move on, because I want to talk some other bits of it, but we talked about the depth of field and the cinematic style. So is that a feature on all the iPhone 13s or only certain models?
So the cinematic feature is on all of them. I'm going to just double check that because I've written that down. But I know that the ProRes isn't. So you can shoot ProRes 30 frames per second at 4K, but only on the Pro and Max models that have lots of storage on them, because it takes up more room. So let me find it. It's got to be the 256 gigabyte or the 512 gigabyte 1 terabyte and 1 terabyte models for that. In the lowlier models, if you like, you can shoot ProRes, but only in HD, not 4K.
So it's not just the model; it's also the storage capacity on it as well to be aware of. But that feature that you talked about, the automatic sort of shifting focus,
the cinematic mode is available in all of them. As far as I could tell, I'm going to double check that before the very end.
But
I'll
give you time to check.
I think it is. I think it's available in all of them.
Well, why don't you have a check on that and let me tell everybody about some dates for your diary coming up, some events that we're running here at Comsteria, and you can find out all about these at comsteria.co.uk/events. We're running a number of open sessions, webinars. Quite short, just a couple of hours, just to give you the basics. One that I am running on the 24th of November is live streaming for businesses. So if you want to get started, kind of doing what we're doing just now, going live on Facebook, live on YouTube or LinkedIn, either just from your phone or from a desktop multi-camera setup with graphics like we have just now, then that's a great course to come along to. Live streaming for business on the 24th of November from 2 till 4 in the afternoon. Find out more at comsteria.co.uk/events. And then another one before that, the 16th of November, PR training for small businesses. A great, powerful way to raise your profile, raise your credibility, get you and your business on television, radio, and in newspapers. We can help you with that, so come along to that session as well. You can get your tickets on Eventbrite. It's just £25 a head, and all the information at comsteria.co.uk/events. And Emma, you're back at the end of next month, 28th of October, with your new one, which got off to a great start last month, Instagram Reels and TikTok for Business. Just give us a quick reminder of what you'll be talking about in there.
Yeah, talking about how you can, really utilise these platforms for your business. Looking both at the practicalities of how you create a video, but also giving you lots of ideas from across different businesses, different brands, how they're using it successfully. So that you go away at the end of the session kind of hopefully buzzing with ideas about what you can go and create for your own organisation. Yeah,
comsteria.co.uk/events. You can message us on any of the social media platforms, or just check us out on Eventbrite as well, Comsteria at Eventbrite. So looking forward to all of that. And every other day I see another great example, or Emma tells me about another great example of another business or another individual who has joined TikTok and is doing something really clever with it. The most recent one I heard about the other day was I think the guy's a joiner, and he's set himself up on TikTok as the sort of snagging expert. So he goes into people's new houses and starts going around pointing out the dodgy tiling and the dodgy woodwork and telling them how to fix it, basically, which is great use of it. And he's really raising his profile through a channel like TikTok. Well, Emma, we've got a few minutes left. We talked about ProRes.
Cinematic mode, just to confirm. It's only in the Pro and the Max models.
There you go.
And that'll be partly because they're the two models that give you that telephoto lens, and as well as the depth of field being to do with the software. It's also about that hardware there that you need that telephoto lens to help the camera kind of focus properly.
So if you really want the most out of this, the best features, you have to go to the Pro or the Max. And start seeing it not just as a personal phone, but this is a tool for business now. The Pro or the Max, these are tools for business. And for some people, and I think maybe it's a generational thing for some people, they wouldn't bother with the DSLR camera, Emma, like you've got behind you. They would rather keep it all on the phone. And when you look at something like the ProRes, so that's the codec that it uses for processing all these images. If you can shoot and edit all of that on the phone, it means your computer's not going to grind to a halt, right? You try and put ProRes 4K footage on a typical Lenovo laptop, you're going to need a lot of power in there. It's going to, and then if you try and send it to a colleague, it's going to cripple your network. That's the risk, unless you're really high end. Whereas if you can do all of that on the phone itself, then it speeds up that whole workflow.
Yeah, and even just shooting in 4K as well, like taking that onto a laptop that doesn't have the processing power for it, absolutely grind it to a halt. Whereas, editing on a phone, it deals with it so effortlessly. So definitely it is a real valuable tool for you. Even I think if you're looking to, I always say on courses, why not invest in phones specifically for video? That there's instead of getting the SLR camera, you have a dedicated phone for video with all that storage on it and all those features that people kind of book out. If you're going to make a video that day, you take the iPhone 13. You don't need the iPhone.
The iPhone 13
for all
Pro.
The other stuff.
The iPhone 13 Pro or
the
Max.
iPhone 13 Pro or Max. You take it out and you edit your video. You do it's got all the video and all the photography stuff on it.
Yeah.
And that's what it's used for.
We need to get away from this notion of, you just use the phone that's in your pocket and it's also got your email on it and your Facebook and your kids' school. This is business. This is the comms team. We shouldn't be using our own kit for this. The business should be investing. It's a tool to do the job. Just because the technology has shrunk it doesn't mean we just use the same device for everything. So I think the Pro or the Max, and then if you want something for your own, shooting your own kids and family, etc., then you go and get one of the other models. But I think clear separation between the business communication tools and actually creating this really high quality content. You wouldn't expect Steven Spielberg to come out, using the same kit that he uses when he's scuffing about his house. I don't believe he ever scuffs about his house, but you'd expect a professional to bring certain level of tools, and I think that's where the Pro and the Max come in. I mean, Emma, is the Max stupidly huge?
I don't know what are the specs on it. Don't think I've seen anyone with a Max.
No, you don't see many of them at all. I'm sure there's a reason for that.
For me, anything bigger than this would be for just general browsing and things. So this is the iPhone 12, and that's the same size as the 13 and the Pro. So that bigger body size would not be good for my hands.
So the iPhone 13 mini is 5.4 inches. Mm-hmm. So that's about the size. I mean, go back a few years, I think like the iPhone 4 was round about that size. Certainly I had a Google Nexus 5.
It was about that.
And that was why it was 5. It was 5.5 odd inches. The iPhone 13 standard is now 6.1. The Pro is the same.
Yeah.
It's also 6.1. The Max is 6.7. So what you think about, you've got your standard phone, which doesn't have these advanced features that Emma's just been talking about. The Pro assumes you're a pro, so it gives you the cinematic view, the ultra wide, etc., etc. Max is just bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you should think about this.
Yeah, definitely. There's not much difference or any difference really when you just skim across the camera specs. The Pro and the Max are the same. It's just what kind of size handset do you feel most comfortable with? Yeah,
I'm just having a quick check just now at some of the feature sets, and maybe you can tell me what they look like. Just seeing the weight of them, it's a good bit heavier. So the iPhone 12 Pro, 189 grams. 13 Pro's 204. Pro Max is 240. Just look and see if there's any other things. The storage, you need to have the higher end storage. Now it's funny because for a little while with phones, storage wasn't that important because we were all using cloud storage, but now it's kind of going back up again. A phone with 1 terabyte of storage, which is incredible. I think that's something just to flag up for business use and for video, the amount of storage that video does take up if you're going out to shoot for a day, and you're not going to get the best videos if you're always worried about the storage and having to back things up. So and also having the higher storage, iPhone 13 gives you that ProRes access as well. So I think that's something really worth considering as well. And also, I guess, Emma, when as a business starts just shooting more video, as video becomes more important to the organisation, they shoot it, they edit it, but they then, I guess, want to keep it. They want to keep all these vlogs that we've been doing with the managing director and the safety videos and all that other stuff. So they're going to they'll use cloud storage, but also start investing probably in hard drives and backup and things.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I would be not just relying on the cloud storage, but making sure everything's backed up on your hardware somewhere that you can access at any time.
Yeah, it's an exciting journey, and we'd love to partner with you on it and help you through all this. So you can keep in touch with us and tell your friends and colleagues about our smartphone video show. We're here almost every Friday, 1 o'clock till 1:30. Let me just finish off by going through the pricing on some of this. The iPhone 13 Pro is $949 for the smallest storage, the 128 gigabyte. If you go up to the terabyte, it's $1,449. So just about £1,500 there for the iPhone 13 Pro, sort of top model. If you go for the Max, iPhone 13 Pro Max starts at $1,049 on 128 gigabyte and goes up to $1,549. So there you go. Quite an investment, but I think going to get you some really exciting results. And we're getting to the place now where almost every organisation is becoming a content creator. You're starting to think like a publisher, starting to think like a media company, and hopefully starting to see the value of it all as well. Emma, thank you very much for helping us make sense of the new iPhone 13. Remember the dates for your diary, and you can find out more at comsteria.co.uk/events. Before we go, Emma, how many weeks is it? 2 weeks just about until the new Bond film comes out on the 30th of September.
Oh, yeah.
Daniel Craig's last go at it. No Time to Die. Radio 2 are asking just now, what's your favourite Bond theme?
Are you asking me that?
I am.
GoldenEye.
Tina Turner.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that was my favourite
Yes.
Bond film. I don't know why. I was at university. It was probably more to do with the time in my life than it being the best film.
Is it a Pierce Brosnan or a
It was
Timothy
the first
Dalton?
ever Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
I like that relaunch. I like Pierce.
Yeah. I do. I also like GoldenEye. The song, I can't even think of the film at
It's
all.
Sean Bean as well, so that
Right.
I enjoyed.
Okay, all right, you like that? That's fine. The other one, I mean, the best one, regardless, I think, of personal taste. If you just say what's the best one, it surely must be Live and Let Die.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think of that song or the film, that is the best Bond theme.
The best Bond theme.
It has to be.
I like it as a song, but no.
You don't think so?
I don't think
There's
it's
a difference
like a classic
between you,
Bond
but there's a
theme.
difference between your favourite. You can have a favourite, GoldenEye. For me, it's probably Duran Duran one.
Yeah.
If you took it, right? They're your favourites. But can you not acknowledge the best one, or am I just being a prick?
No comment.
Oh, we'll continue this off air. Thanks very